Hey guys, and a very warm welcome back to my channel. So in the previous video we covered the topic of India and Nepal relations, and from this video we'll be talking about India and Sri Lanka relations. So I've already made many of the videos of various bilateral relations of India with the other neighboring countries, and I've also made you I've also made for you the preliminary things that you need to know, the basic things about the Indian foreign policy, who made it, when it was made, and how it is going, everything, various provisions and various doctrines and agreements, and many of the things we have already talked about. So I would like all of you to go and check out my other like the previous made videos before you come into this video. And this is and you are currently watching the free preparation series where we'll be preparing with prelims as well as mains, and it is by our channel Awan Anju. So when you go for your GS studies for everything, so I will be teaching you GS also, I will be teaching you answer writing also, and I would be teaching you from the perspective of both pre and mains and everything you need to know for UPSC for completely free. Okay, this is the thing. So why you might be wondering that why am I giving all of these things for free? There might not be the quality and all. We all think that it's okay. So the thing is that first of all, Parit, first things first, I just don't like this idea of having giving so much money, and there are many people out there who just can't afford that. Okay, for preparation. So this would be very very helpful for you if you are not going for any kind of coachings, and you wouldn't be able to do that. So I just believe in that this kind of education should also be there. And secondly, we are just starting, and I wanted to just not to make in future also, I will not keep it paid, but we are starting and we need support. So I would like all of you guys to subscribe and like and share this videos with your friends, with the people who need it, who might not afford coaching institutes. So this is for all of you guys. So please go. I'm just asking you to, it is completely free, I'm just asking you to go and subscribe to this channel, and you can ask your comment in the comment section, is open for all of you. You can ask in the comments if you have any kind of doubts. So now let us start with our topic, that is India and Sri Lanka relations. Okay, and one thing more, I'm writing with a mouse, so my writing would not be the most beautiful one you have seen. Of course it is very difficult to write with the mouse, so please bear with that, but it would be legitimate, and I would write just all the important things for you guys. Okay, so first of all, while talking about Sri Lanka, so Sri Lanka is very close to India. Okay, and it is near the South India, and we share a very very long history with Sri Lanka. Okay, our mythologies and all are also similar. Okay, we share our mythologies as well. So it is around 2500 years old history that we share with them. Also, Sri Lanka is known as the Pearl of Indian Ocean. Okay, this is a term that is given to Sri Lanka, Pearl of Indian Ocean. Pearl of Indian Ocean. Why it is known as Pearl of Indian Ocean? Because if you see the location of Sri Lanka, so it is placed in the heart of Indian Ocean. I would like to show you the place of Sri Lanka if you want to. So you guys can see here, this is India, and this is where Sri Lanka is there. You can see in the southernmost part of India, and it is also connected. We are also connected by a park known as Park State. I'll talk about it also. And we are connected through this strait, and this is Sri Lanka. So this is Indian Ocean. Okay, so if you guys can see that this is all the Indian Ocean, and it is actually in the heart of Indian Ocean. That's why it is known as Pearl of Pearl of Indian Ocean. Okay, then, so, 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 Okay, then of course, when I showed you the image of string of pearls, so this is the map of string of pearls that we earlier saw. So you guys can see that there is a port which is made by China in Sri Lanka as well. Okay, so Hambantota, near Hambantota, we'll talk about it. Okay, so the port, the string of pearls, one of the pearls of the string of pearls in is China, of China is in Sri Lanka also. Okay, so China plays a major role here in the scheme of string of pearls. Okay, okay, okay. Also, if you would be knowing a bit of history, so the history of Ashoka the Great, you would have at least heard his name, Ashoka the Great. When we'll be doing the history part, it would be more clear to you guys. Okay, Ashoka the Great, he sent his daughter and son Mahendra and Sanghamitra, son and daughter Mahendra and Sanghamitra was sent to introduce Buddhism into Sri Lanka. Okay, and also this was thought to be to beg a more diplomatic relation with of India with Sri Lanka. So that was the thing. And Mahendra and Sanghamitra went to the place known as Anuradha Anuradhapura, Pura. Anuradhapura is a place where they went in Sri Lanka. Okay, and we have a longest continuous history of Buddhism with Sri Lanka. So this was a basic idea about Sri Lanka. Now let me change the color because I think it's not that visible. Okay, so now let us talk about the colonial history. Colonial, what am I writing? Sorry, colonial history. Okay, let us see the Sri Lanka's colonial history. So Portuguese were the first one to invade Sri Lanka in 1505. Okay, and the name of the person is Francisco de Almeida. Francisco de Almeida. Okay, and he was the first one. Then after them came Dutch. Okay, and it was in around 1660 when they came. Okay, and there was a war that is known as Kandy War. Kandy. Kandy is a place in Sri Lanka. So Kandy War, it is in the central part of Sri Lanka. So there is a war that happened there that is known as Kandy War, and this was a war between the Britishers and Dutch. Okay, and Britishers got defeated, Dutches won. Okay, and it was in around 1803 when they got defeated. Okay, then this was the Kandian War. Then there was another Kandian War that happened. Kandian War number 2. Another Kandian War that happened. Okay, and here Britishers won. Okay, Britishers won, and they had a full-time control of Britishers over Sri Lanka. Then talking about 1948, British control was going on. In 1948, Sri Lanka was given a domicile status. Domicile status was given to Sri Lanka. Okay, in 1948. Then in early 1970s, in around 1970s, Sri Lanka attained as a full republic. Sri Lanka was declared as a full republic in 1970. Okay. Okay, now let us see certain biggest challenges for Sri Lanka, and the first important one being their ethnic war. There is an ethnic war that is always there in Sri Lanka, and till now it is there. Okay, this is like a biggest issue for Sri Lanka, and this ethnic war is between a majority who are called Sinhala. They are in the majority, and the another one, other of the religions. Okay, first of all, let me tell you, this is like 74.9% of them are Sinhalese, and they're basically the believers of Buddhism. Okay, they are the majority. They are the majority. Okay. Then they are basically Indo-Aryans. Okay. Then there are the other community that are known as Sri Lankan. Please ignore the background voice. Sri Lankan Tamil. Sri Lankan Tamils. Okay. And Sri Lankan Tamils are around 11.1%. Okay. 11.1%. Then comes there is another community known as Moors. Okay, and Moors are around, they are basically the Arab descendants. Okay, and they came to Sri Lanka initially for trade, and they are basically from Muslim community, of course, if they are Arabians, and they mostly live in the southern and southern east part of Sri Lanka. Then there is another community. Acha, Moors are around 9.3%. Okay, 9.3%. Okay, then comes another community which is known as Indian Tamils. Indian Tamils are around very less, that is 4.1%. 4.1% are Indian Tamils. Okay, so there are some indigenous people also. The leftover population is of indigenous people. There are some indigenous populations who are known as Vedas. Veddas, Vedas. Okay, so they are indigenous. So these are the basic communities, and there is an ethnic war that happens mostly between the Sinhalese, because they are the majority. So they wanted to, if there is a majority, so they practice authoritarianism. Okay, so Sinhalese practice authoritarianism, and Sri Lankan Tamils, Indian Tamils, and other communities, they are treated as the second class citizens. Their rights are not taken care of. Okay, this is actually the story of every place where there is a community that is in majority, so they try to dominate over the other communities which are in minorities. So this happens. So this is the same thing that is happening in Sri Lanka, and it has been a long war. It has been a long time since it has been happening, and there were many of the wars that took place because of this ethnic war. Okay, so before going to the war part, I would like to just create a rough map. Okay, मैं rough सा map बना रही हूँ, just to tell you that कौन सी community किस area में ज़्यादा prevail करती है. So like ये श्रीलंका है आपका कुछ ऐसा, ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे देखो, यहाँ पे कैंडी होता है, बिल्कुल सेंटर में था कैंडी, जो मैंने आपको बताया था कैंडी वॉर भी जहाँ हुई थी, ठीक है, वॉर ऑफ कैंडी, जहाँ पर पोर्चुगीज एंड ब्रिटिशर्स की वॉर हुई थी, ठीक है. तो ये ही प्लेस है वो कैंडी, ठीक है. अच्छा, तो यहाँ पे कैंडी के आसपास, ये कैंडी का जो आसपास वाला एरिया है पूरा, ये आसपास वाले एरिया में यहाँ पे रहते हैं इंडियन तमिल्स. ओके, इंडियन तमिल्स सेंट्रल पार्ट में रहते हैं. ठीक है, इंडियन तमिल्स. फिर आपके यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा इस वाले रीजन में, ये पूरे रीजन में इन दोनों पार्ट्स में यहाँ पे रहते हैं हम मूर्स. ठीक है. देन आपके जो सिन्हलीज हैं, सिन्हलीज आर इन मेजॉरिटी. ओके, सो सिन्हलीज जो हैं दे आर इन अराउंड ऑल ऑफ दिस एरिया, वो सारे में ही हैं. ये पूरा पार्ट उन्होंने ही कवर कर रखा है. किन्होंने? सिन्हलीज. ठीक है. एंड द रिमेनिंग दिस एरिया is covered by Sri Lankan Tamils. Okay, so this is the basic distribution on the places where they live. Okay, now let us look at the problem that they face. What is the issue all about? So issue is about the refusal of Sinhalese to give equal status to Sri Lankan Tamils. Okay, which is minority and other minorities. Okay, so majority is practicing authoritarianism on the minority communities. Okay, and Sinhalese also want Sinhale language, which they speak as the state language. They wanted that this should be considered as our state language, which is not spoken by the other Tamils. Okay, so they wanted Sinhale to be the state language. Okay, and they are practicing majoritarianism, religious fundamentalism, and all of these authoritarianism, and all of this has literally led to the destruction of Sri Lanka. Okay, so there was a political party called LTTE, and it was in around 1980s that this LTTE this LTTE is a party for all the Tamils. Okay, like Sri Lankan Tamils, mostly Tamils. Okay, both Sri Lankan and Indian, mostly Sri Lankan Tamils, they made this party, this associative party known as LTTE. Okay, and this LTTE party, there was a civil war that happened between LTTE and Sinhalese. There was a civil war that happened. Okay, a civil war happened and in around 2009, the leader of LTTE, whose name was Prabhakaran, he was the leader of LTTE, Prabhakaran. He got defeated. Okay, eventually, of course, after the defeat of Prabhakaran, LTTE was not more, and the party collapsed, and the rights of Tamils were left like that only, and till today they are not given equal rights. Okay, we will talk about this in detail, all of this war in detail. First of all, I would like to tell you about our India and Sri Lanka relations. Okay, how are the relations between India and Sri Lanka? Okay, so first of all, I would like to talk about 1987 Accord, which is very important. 1987 Accord. Okay, where it was basically a kind of a peace accord between India and Sri Lanka, and it was signed by our Prime Minister then, around 1987, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. And Sri Lankan Prime Minister, not Prime Minister, Sri Lankan President J. Jayawardene. J. Jayawardene. It was signed between Rajiv Gandhi and J. Jayawardene. Okay. And after that, there was a 13th. This particular accord led to the 13th amendment in the Constitution of Sri Lanka. Okay. This agreement, this 13th amendment, has led to devolution of powers. That means decentralization of powers. Power is not lying in the hands of only one part of the constitution on the one place, and it is being distributed equally amongst the other places. Okay, devolution of power. There is a devolution of power according to that. Okay, so this particular 1987 peace accord, it tried to address three issues. First of all, it was India's strategic interest with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka strategic interests were taken care of. Okay. Secondly, issues related to the protection of the interest of PIO, people of Indian origin, mostly Indian Tamils, and also the issue of minority rights. Minority rights, especially of Sri Lankan Tamils, because they were the most vocal about it. Sri Lankan Tamils and all the other minority communities. So these were the three basic issues that we wanted to talk about. Okay, these three were the basic issues we wanted to touch upon, and it was talked about in this 1987 peace accord. Okay, now after this accord was signed, then India's peacekeeping force, was sent to Sri Lanka. Okay, and I've already I created a map where I showed you the places where there are different kinds of Sinhalese, Sri Lankan communities are living. So usually around north and east, in the north and east provinces, Tamils were in the majority. Okay, and this particular peace accord, it recognized Tamil to have equal status as Tamils, and Sinhalese should have a equal status. Okay, also we agreed to train a new police force. India agreed to train a new police force. Okay, for this northeast community, in the northeast areas. Okay, but a big but here. Okay, this was all what we were intending to do. The majority Sinhalese, now I'm talking about the buts here. Okay, but the majority Sinhali communities felt that India is trying to dictate the agreement. Okay, and they saw India as in kind of an intervention in their policies, in their internal matters, and they feel like there are too many accessions that has been, too many concessions that were given to Tamils. Okay, they didn't like that. Sinhalese didn't like it. Okay, Sinhalese didn't like it. Then the leaders, like I told you about the LTTE community or LTTE party. Okay, LTTE full form is leaders of Tamil, leaders of Tamils. Okay, and it was led by V Prabhakaran, okay, and they opposed it. They also opposed this peace treaty, although it was in the favor of the minority communities. Okay, India wanted to do something for the minority communities, and do something about these ethnic civil wars that happens. But LTTE also opposed this peace accord. Okay, why? Because according to Prabhakaran, according leader of this LTTE, he wanted like Purna Swaraj. Okay, you have heard this term, na? Purna Swaraj means complete independence. So they wanted to have Purna Swaraj in Sri Lanka, and they would not accept anything less than that. According to them, that they are 100% sure that they would be able to get Purna Swaraj in Sri Lanka. Okay, and India wanted to for their equal rights. They were talking about their rights and all, and it was just still not like Sinhalese aren't involved here. They don't want to involve Sinhalese in any way, and LTT want that they should get Purna Swaraj, and they would be able to get. They are highly confident in that. They were highly confident. Okay, so because of Prabhakaran's ambition of free Tamil country, they opposed this peace accord of which was signed by India and 1987. In 1987, it was signed by India and Sri Lanka. Okay, so Sinhalese were also opposing. LTTE was also opposing. Okay, so this accord, as I already told you, that it ensured the unified unity of Sri Lanka, and it also assured the devolution of powers and equal rights to be given to the Tamil communities of Sri Lanka. Okay, and the 13th amendment that was passed, it was only passed, it was not implemented. Okay, it was just passed because nobody wants that. Everybody was opposing in Sri Lanka, and hence it was just passed. It was not implemented. Okay, so after in around 1990s, when Rajiv Gandhi lost power, he lost power. Okay, and then in India, VP Singh came to power. Okay, and in Sri Lanka, Jayawardene also lost power. Jayawardene also lost power, and in his place, his deputy Premadasa his deputy Premadasa came to power, and of course both of these new leadership, VP Singh and Premadasa, they were not interested in this accord. Okay, then in 1991, you all know, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated. In 1991, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated, and assassination was done by and this assassination was done by LTTE, because they thought that Rajiv Gandhi could again influence Sri Lanka into getting back into that accord. okay, and they didn't want that, because also because it was very very sure that Rajiv Gandhi was going to win the next elections. It was very sure in India, okay. So they don't want him to come to power and then again continue with that peace accord. They didn't want that, so LTTE assassinated Rajiv Gandhi, okay. And this, after this assassination, this led to a complete downfall of LTTE, okay. And after this, there is a hands off policy that is implemented by India after the assassination. Hands off policy that has been implemented in India, that we are not going to in any way have talks or any relation with Sri Lanka. Hands off, we are completely hands off to them, okay. Also, in around 2001, there is a very very attack everybody knows about, that is September 9/11. 9/11 attacks, you all know about, okay. And in USA this happened, and in USA after this 9/11 attack, they declared all of the violent associations as terrorists, okay. And LTTE was also declared as a terrorist organization, because they also killed Rajiv Gandhi, okay. In around 2008, there was certain peace talks. In 2002, not in 2002, there were certain peace talks that were initiated by Norway, mediated by Norway, but nothing happened. In around 2006, again the war happened in Sinhalese and Tamils. Sinhali and Tamil war happened again, okay. This was in 2006. So I would like to tell you something about 2005. What it was, that Rajpakshas, Mahiona Rajpaksha, Maha Noah Rajpaksha, RAJ Rajpaksha, PAKSHA, Rajpakshas were there in power, and he was the Mahanoa Rajpaksha was the president, and there was like two leaders in around 2005. One was from another party, opposing party, which is then in opposition. Rajpakshas won, but the opposition party was, there were two parties, okay. First of all, the Sinhalese Rajapaksa, Rajapakshas, they promised an all-out war against Tamil, against Tamils, if they would come into power. This was their promise, okay. And there was another party which was then in opposition, of course. Rajpakshas won, okay. So opposition party was under Ramil, RAMIL, Ramil Vikram, WIK Vikram Singhe, Ramil Vikram Singhe. He promised a complete peace between Tamils and Sinhalese and all of the Sri Lanka. And what people choose war over peace. They wanted an all out. Of course, Sinhalese are there in majority, so Sinhalese, all of them wanted to, a war against Tamil. So they chose war against Tamil, and Rajpakshas came to power. And then in 2006, there was a war that happened again. So war was majorly between LTTE Rajpakshas, and LTTE was from Tamil's side, and LTTE declared a complete boycott of election. Okay, when the elections were happening, boycott they declared a complete boycott from LTTE side. So if you guys can see, you know, mostly all of the Sinhalese voted for Rajpaksha. So there was, if I talk about the Ramil's government and Rajpaksha's government, 51 ratio 49. You can see the winning. Rajpaksha won by 51 is to 49. 49 was for opposition. So there was a very less difference. Very less difference. Because of LTTE's boycotting, if they would have voted, then Ramil would have been there at the, and the peace would have been there according to his promise. But because LTTE boycotted those elections, Rajpakshas won, which again went against them. So that was a very wrong move. All of the wrong moves that were there from LTTE side, it all led to downfall of Tamils even more. Okay. So Moors didn't vote, and Moors and all, they were also very, they are a kind of a violent kind of community, not community, a violent kind of political party. They have violent ways. Okay. And the Moors were also very, scared to vote, so they didn't also voted, and LTTE also didn't voted, Tamils also didn't voted, so they lost by 49. Otherwise the situation would have been very different if they would have voted. Okay. So then of course Rajpakshas won. All out war was there in around May 2009. In around May 2009, LTTE finally got defeated. LTTE, after all out war, defeated. Okay. And entire Tamil leadership was eliminated. Rajpaksha was killed, and his family was killed, and the entire Tamil leadership was then after that eliminated. Okay. There was no justice for Tamils. 13th Amendment Act was not implemented. No political solution that happened for North and East. So Tamil were completely devastated under no leadership. So every decision that LTTE took went against them. Okay. So because of the wrong decisions that Prabhakaran and his party took, it led to a big downfall and a complete devastation of Tamils in Sri Lanka. Okay. So I have a question. You might be thinking about how and why LTTE got defeated. Okay. You have already seen various wrong decisions taken by LTTE, but let us study in detail why they were defeated. Okay. Why they were defeated. So first of all, assassination of Rajiv Gandhi, after which the downfall happened. Assassination of Rajiv Gandhi that took place. Okay. Which alienated LTTE. India also implemented the hands-off policy after that. Then they were declared as the terrorist group by USA. Terrorist group in around September 11. Okay. And the fundraising, India also started earlier Tamils were supported by Indians, but now India is also following the hands-off policy, so they were not being supported, and it became very difficult for them for fundraising. Fundraising was an issue. Fundraising became difficult. Okay. Only there were certain fundraising from the parts of Europe or Canada, but it was very less. Okay. It was not sufficient. Fourth, it was difficult to procure weapons for LTTE. Okay. Because of their thing about, after basically about assassination, That is majorly all of the wrongs started from them after this assassination. Okay, so the weapon procurement also became very difficult for them. I chose done. Okay, so around 2000s LTTE ships which were carrying weapons, they were intercepted by Sri Lankan army, and Indian army also helped the Sri Lankan army to intercept those ships and destroy those ships that were carrying weapon for LTTE. Okay, then LTTE found it very difficult to recruit more of the youth. Okay, and then they end up getting children into LTTE, which again they were criticized for that a lot. Firstly, let me change this color. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay, so they were criticized for that also. And then during the Norway peace talks, LTTE behaved as if the war was over. Okay, so they behaved that everything is peaceful, war was over, and and nothing is there. Um, um, Rajiv Gandhi is defeated. Well, Rajiv Gandhi is assassinated. Now everything is okay, and they have control and all. So they didn't put up their issues, and of course, at the nail in the coffin, the last nail in the coffin was when LTTE's decision to boycott voting in the election of 2015, which again led to coming of Rajapaksa into power and a all-out war at the end. Okay, so that was all about uh, the why LTTE was defeated. Okay, now LTTE is defeated. Now Rajapakshas are in power. So Mahendra Rajapaksa was in power. Okay, and India insisted that 13 Amendment Act must be now implemented, and Rajapaksas did it, of course. After 2010, in 2010 also, India tried to pressurize Sri Lanka, and after that pressure from India, they started moving more closer towards China. This is the tactics that has been there with all the countries. Okay, if there is a pressure from one part, they move to the other country. Okay, so they started moving closer towards China after in around 2010. Okay, and Rajapakshas refused to do any kind of justice to Tamils, and they started moving closer to China. So the issues even issues started even more exaggerated. Sri Lanka allowed China to construct Hambantota port, which we talked about in the String of Pearls. Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, and they were not able to pay the debt for this port. Sri Lanka was not able to pay the debt for this port. They were under a debt trap from China, and then China has leased this port for 99 years. So you guys can see a kind of debt trap which Sri Lanka came under. So this is the place. Okay, this is Hambantota port is present towards south in Sri Lanka, and this is what is taken up by China now. So there was a brief period of relief for India when in 2015 there was a surprise defeat of Rajapakshas. Okay, in the early election, there was early election declared by Rajapakshas, and there was a surprising defeat for them. And who won? Maithripala. Maitripala Sirisena, from Sirisena. His name was also Sirisena, Maitripala Sirisena, and there was a government of Maitripala Sirisena plus Ramil, who was in opposition. Ramil, Vikram, they both joined together. Vikram Singhei. Okay, there was a party formed between both of them, and they won in 2005, and they ruled till November 2019. And at this time, India and Sri Lanka relations started to improve, but again in April 2019, Rajapaksa's won. Not they no they didn't won. In April 2019, there was an event where there were bombings in the church in a church in Sri Lanka. Bombings in a church, okay, during the Easter celebrations that they do, and some of the radical Muslims, they planted those bombs, and Rajapaksa started to blame this government of Shri Sena and Vikram Singhe, that they are not able to maintain the peace policy and all, and this they are giving a chance to the minority for for these kind of radical actions, and they were responsible for these extreme events that are happening in the country. Okay, so again then in November 2019, when again the elections happened, 2019, Rajapaksa won. This was a major event which again led to victory of Rajapaksas. Okay, they won, and who was from 2005 to 2015, the defense secretary in the government of Rajapaksa has now become the president. His name is Gotabaya, Baya, Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he is the president now of Sri Lanka, and he won. And also Mahendra Rajapaksa is now the prime minister in Sri Lanka. Okay, and his brother Basil Rajapaksa is appointed as the finance minister in the government. So you guys can see that all of the brothers are there in the party, and they have a kind of a hold on the party. Okay, so let me talk about now the India and Sri Lanka relationship and the dimensions today, in the today's era. Okay, what are the dimensions of our relations? So first of all, after November 2019, when Rajapaksa won, okay, when he came to power, so after that, trade, let me talk about trade. In March, we are talking about after 2019, after Rajapaksa again came to power. In around March 2000, India signed a free trade agreement with Sri Lanka. Okay, and it substantially improved the trade. In 2018, if I talk about in 2018 consensus, to tell you, there was a $5 billion estimated trade, $5 billion trade with Sri Lanka, where India's export to Sri Lanka was $4.2 billion, and Sri Lanka's export to India was $0.8 billion, so they were in deficit. Okay, India has invested around 1.3 billion. India has invested till now 1.3 billion investment in Sri Lanka. Okay. Also, India has also given various aids from time to time to Sri Lanka, and we have almost given $3 billion in support. $3 billion in support from India to Sri Lanka we have given till now. Okay. Uh, from which there was around $5,000 million of pure grant. Okay, from this amount. Okay, then also after the war, India promised to construct 50,000 houses in north and east, and also a security cooperation between India and Sri Lanka for Tamils. Okay, and we have also a kind of a joint navy exercise that is known as SLYNEX. SLYNEX, a joint navy exercise of India and Sri Lanka. Okay. Now let us see the dimension of the importance of Sri Lanka for India. Importance of Sri Lanka for India. Okay, so Park State, I talked about Park State. Let me show you again. So this connecting link between India and Sri Lanka is known as PALK, Park Strait. This is a strait that connects India and Sri Lanka, Park Strait. Okay, and so geographically, if you say, we are very much close to each other, so geographically Sri Lanka is very important for India. Okay, very important for India. There are many of the trade opportunities that is there for India. There are many kind of trade opportunities for trades perspective also. Sri Lanka is very important. Okay, so but there are certain issues that are happening. Okay, issues that are happening like China closeness. They are growing closer, especially Rajpakshas are growing closer towards China. They don't support India in the way. And we have the Tamil issue, of course, which is still unresolved. Tamil issue. Also, the FTA term that I talked to you about in around 2002 when we signed FTA. This FTA got expired, and now Sri Lanka is not willing to renegotiate on the FTA because they have a protectionist mindset. Okay, and they don't want to now continue with FTA. Also, India wanted to have a CEPA with Sri Lanka, but Sri Lanka refused for that also, and Sri Lanka is not negotiating. Okay. Also, there is an asymmetry in relationships. There is a asymmetry in the sense the size, like India is very big as compared to Sri Lanka. Okay, so there is a size difference of Sri Lanka is very small. Okay, so there is a big size difference, economy difference, and all, like many of the asymmetries are there. Okay. Also, Sri Lanka accuses India of our interventionist policy. They think us as an intervener. They see us as the interventionists. Okay. Also, because the trade balance is in favor in India, so Sri Lanka don't like that as well. Also, there is a fisherman issue. Sometimes fishermen of India, they illegally fish in Sri Lanka's areas, Sri Lankan waters, and Sri Lankan army resort to firing and killing. and capturing boats of fishermen, which is a very extreme step. You know, they are fishing and they could, at least killing is not the option. That is very extremist, okay? But they are employing this kind of extremist policies against India. Okay, because you know why there is a increase in the Sri Lankan waters, why fishermen are going there, because Sri Lanka is blessed with more fish as compared to India. Okay, the area around Indian waters, it has completely exhausted the fish reserves, and Sri Lanka Sri Lanka is still having more fishes in their waters. So sometimes fishermen goes illegally there, but they went, you know, they go to the extent of killing and firing on them. So that is a very, very extremist step. Okay, now I will talk some bit about latest developments between India and Sri Lanka, and we'll have a final analysis, and then we'll be able to complete the India Sri Lanka topic. So let us start up with the latest developments. Okay, latest developments. First of all, latest development between India and Sri Lanka. First of all, let me talk to you about a very important port, that is Hambantota. Hambantota. I told you that we'll be talking detailed about, we'll be going detailed about this one. So Hambantota port, not too much detail, but you need to know whatever you need to know. Okay. So in Hambantota port, as I told you, is in Sri Lanka, which is now under the lease to China. So again, that happened that, you know, the whatever the cost that was there incurred, Sri Lanka was unable to pay back that cost. Of course, you know, China is a big nation, China is a big economy, and they are able to spend a good amount of money which Sri Lanka may not be able to repay back. Okay, so that thing happened. Okay, Sri Lanka was not able to repay, and so there was an agreement between China and Sri Lanka because they were unable to repay. Okay? So the agreement was to lease this port, lease this port for around 99 years. It's a long time, okay? 100 years. 99 years to China, to give it to lease to for 99 years to China, because they are unable to repay it. Okay, so this issue is seen as a what debt trap is. This is a perfect example of a debt trap. Okay, and also from India's perspective, this particular agreement is the Chinese permanent influence. It is like 100 years, so we can say Chinese influence, and it could even, who knows what would be the condition after 100 years. So Chinese permanent influence in around in that port in Sri Lanka, in Indian Ocean, very close to India. Okay, okay, also China is constructing, this was about Hambantota port, China is constructing a financial hub. Okay, a financial hub, financial hub. It is a project which is taken up by China. The name of the project is Colombo Port City Project. Colombo Port City Project. Colombo Port City Project. Okay, financial hub. So this is a project which is there from China, and recently there is a law passed in May 2021. In May 2021, very recently, there is a law passed. Okay, where Sri Lanka is giving Chinese more power in this project. Okay, and they are giving an additional of 290, no 290, 269 hectares of extra land to Sri Lanka to China is given by Sri Lanka. So they are providing them some additional benefits. Okay. Also, there is a project, a highway project, a highway project. I'm telling you about these things about China and Sri Lanka because this is important to know, and important to know that how all of these things are going to affect India ultimately. Okay, so there is a highway project from Kandy, Kandy, Kandy to Colombo, Okay. Also, there is a important issue about a airport. Okay, so there was a project for construction of airport in Hambantota itself, in Hambantota, but and both China and India were bidding for this project. Okay, they were bidding for this project, and this project went to China, not India. Indian companies couldn't get this project. Okay, so you can see the closeness of increasing closeness of Sri Lanka with China. Okay. Also, there was a agreement just before Rajpaksha came to power. There was an agreement of development of on the east coast, development of the east coast terminal of Colombo, east coast terminal of Colombo, east coast terminal of Colombo. Okay, there was an agreement for the development of this Colombo port in the east coast, Colombo port, and the agreement was between Japan, India, both of us are holding 59% of shares in this port. Okay, and Sri Lanka, who was holding around 51% of shares. Okay, but after this was before Rajpaksha. Okay, then after Rajpaksha came to power, of course they are very close. They don't support India. Okay, so when they came to power, they cancelled this agreement. Okay, and they cited the example of the local opposition from the people who are living there, but we all know that why it was cancelled. Okay, because they don't support India, they don't want India to have any projects in Sri Lanka, especially Rajpakshas I'm talking about. Okay, so instead instead of this east coast, they offered us west coast. They offered west coast, and the thing about west coast is that there is no development in this area. Already east coast have been developed. Okay, and there needs to be some kind of more you say modifications that needs to be done, but in the west coast it is completely like there was zero development. Okay, so instead they gave India and Japan this offer of the west coast terminal project, which was not at all functional. Okay, and also the have been shares have been increased although, but the port was not in a functional state. So India and Japan were given 85% of shares, and Sri Lanka took 15% of shares. Okay, so this was the situation. Also, let me tell you the another recent development that took place between India and Sri Lanka is that India has been offered a LNG terminal. LNG terminal. LNG terminal at the Keravalla, Pitya, Pitya, Keravalla Pitya. Okay, near Colombo. It is near Colombo, and also in Trinco Trinco mm, Trincomalee in the east coast. This is another major development that took place in the east coast. Okay, but overall, as to say, Sri Lanka's relation with India is not that well. Okay, so now let me give you just a final analysis and certain comments on our relationship. Okay, so let us have a look at the final analysis of India and Nepal relationships. Sorry, India and Sri Lanka analysis. Let us talk about the final analysis. Okay, so first of all, Chinese intrusion in Sri Lanka is a strategic defeat for us. Strategic defeat for us. Okay, and uh, China coming close to Sri Lanka and in turn getting very close to the boundaries of India can be a security threat for India, security threat for us. Okay, then Indian investments are finding more difficulty. Okay, in Sri Lanka, as we have seen, like the East Coast project that was given to China. Okay, that was not given to India, and there are many of the projects which are given to China instead of India, and we are just looking at a scenario of very less. We find it difficult to get Indian investment in Sri Lanka. Okay, also there are all of these issues like Tamils and all. Tamil issue has not been solved yet, of course. Okay, and the war that happened between Sinhalese and the Tamils. Okay, and all of the assassinations that happened, especially the killings done by LTTE and Sinhalese in the all-out war. All of these wars, all of these wars, so the government of Sri Lanka currently is not ready to address all of these war crimes. They are not ready to address these war crimes. Okay, and all of the human right issues that arises from this. Okay, the right to life. Okay, right to liberty, all of the issues are there, human right issues are there in Sri Lanka, and the solution for Tamil is also not this, or all of them, they are just they're not very keen to address all of these issues. Also, there is a presence of China in the Sri Lanka's BJ Dajbauti दजबाउती BOUTI है, ठीक है, BOUTI दजबाउटी सी, दजबाउटी सी के अंदर चाइना की प्रेजेंस. ओके, so now let us talk about the ideas to improve. First of all, let me discuss the certain ideas that are given by the experts to improve our relationships with Sri Lanka. So first of all, we should militarize Quad against China. We should militarize that. This is what is the ideas that are not given by me but are given by, it is not our personal comments, but it was the what experts have to say in this relation. Okay, experts have to say. So first of all, militarize Quad. Okay, secondly, we should strengthen our relation with Vietnam, which Vietnam means all of the nations that are against China. We should improve our relations with those areas, with those countries. Okay, we should play a more active role in Indo-Pacific and South China Sea, and India should be doing that. So South China Sea issue that we discussed in India-China relations, and Indo-Pacific, in the Indo-Pacific areas we should increase our presence, and we should oppose the Belt and Road Initiative, which we are doing. So Belt and Road Initiative should be opposed. Okay, and we should uh, oppose them, and we should look forward to CPECs also, CPEAs also. So these are the certain things that experts are claiming. But now I would like to give certain comments on what I have to say, and it is completely your opinion. But what my opinion is going to be on the basis of constitution, and not on the basis of any kind of some political and all agendas. Okay, so these are like these above the solutions which I just mentioned to you. These are not the solutions that India could do. These are not the best ones, and India should actually win back them. Okay, and in order to win back them, we should increase one of the thing, that is people to people contact. I think that emotionally also India should win back Sri Lanka. So people to people contact is very important in improving relation with any of the country. Okay, we share a lots and lots of history. Our mythologies are same. Okay, Ravana used to live in Sri Lanka, so we have a shared mythology. Also, we have a shared culture. Also, there are Tamils also in there, and Buddhism is one of the majority religion there. And in India also, we also have Buddhists there in our India. So we need to, by looking at all of these similarities, we should increase the people to people contact of Sri Lanka and India, and like we have so much in common. Okay, so we should, use it for improving for winning back Sri Lanka. Also, we should increase our tourism to these nations to improve our relation. Okay, this people to people contact can be through tourism also, and we should persuade gently, gentle persuasion, not in any kind of aggressive form. Aggressive where anger does not work, where your gentleness work. Okay, so gentle persuasion should be there related to the Tamil issues. Okay, instead of the expert opinion of militarizing Quad and all. Okay, that's for China, but still we should go for a gentle persuasion there. We should also warn them about China's intention, their debt traps and all. We should warn them about that also, and we should try to have more investments. Okay, and we should increase our level of support to Sri Lanka. Support should be increased. Okay, and we should form strong bilateral bilateral economic engagement. Economic engagement, we should increase that also. Okay, to satisfy Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans, and we should also resolve our fisherman issue. Okay, which I discussed. Fisherman issue should be resolved. Okay, so these are the certain personal comments that you can add. Okay, to have better relations with Sri Lanka. So this is it about our India Sri Lanka relationships. We are done with this topic. We have completed our India Sri Lanka relation, and in the next video I will be doing India Afghanistan, and then we would be left with India Pakistan. That also we will cover. Okay, so India Afghanistan and Indian Myanmar is also left, so I will cover that also. Okay, then I think all of it would be completed. These are the major ones. Okay, so India Sri Lanka relations we have completed, and please go subscribe and like and share with your friends, because this is very important for us. Okay, if you liked it, if you enjoyed, this is a full preparation of 1 year course for prelims and mains both. Okay, so it would be very helpful for you guys by Avanoj. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more upcoming videos. Till then, bye bye and take care.